Welcome back. You're watching Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. We're looking at the comments of President Muhammadu Buhari on national security and the rule of law from the perspective of someone who's been detained unjustly and those who advocate for human rights. Mr. Daniel Ezekiel, spokesperson of the Ijaw People's Development Initiative and an ex-detainee of the DSS, and Pt.3, an investigative journalist and press freedom advocate, are our guests tonight. It is worth mentioning here that we invited the new spokesperson of the DSS, Mr. Peter Afunaya, who sent his apologies tonight, saying he had to be away on an inter-agency assignment. He's, however, promised to make himself available on subsequent editions of the program. Now, let me quickly ask you, Ezekiel, how were the conditions? It's one thing for your freedom to be held, I mean, for you to be deprived of your freedom, your personal liberty is taken away from you. But what were the conditions inside the cell of the DSS?
Yeah, if I'm to use a single word, it was hell on earth. And I never wish my enemy to be there.
So they were not conducive at all in any way? I ask you this question because I also spoke with Senator Einaya Abaribe, who was also held in the custody of the DSS under very suspicious circumstances. Now, he said that he was treated fairly in the custody of the DSS, that they followed some, but he was very unhappy about the fact that his freedom was taken away from him.
Well, I think if Senator Abaribe said that he was treated fairly, I will concur to him. Because in DSS custody, we have cells or rooms made for VIP. In those areas, in those cells, they can feel comfortability there.
So there is differentiation?
Yes. But when it comes to majority of suspects, it has been hell on earth for them. Apart from psychological torture, physical torture is equally being heaped on them from time to time. So I wouldn't want to disagree with Senator Abaribe in that regard. But when it comes to majority, when it comes to quote and unquote, the less privileged, the masses, they are passing through horrendous period in DSS custody.
I find it interesting that you said you were in a cell, you're nearly killed by some Boko Haram suspects. You understand that? I read that in the testimony you gave to the Vanguard newspapers, if I'm correct. You talked about that, but you also said you had relations. You met a number of other people who were held as suspects of militants in the Niger Delta as well. Were you allowed free movement within the custody of the DSS?
No.
So how were you able to do that?
Yes, in each cell, the least in a cell was 5. So there we were mixed up. Boko Haram, Niger Delta, people from other parts of the country. And having said that, on getting there, I actually met a lot of Niger Delta youth who have been there for months. And I left them there. In fact, when I was leaving DSS custody, I left 52 Niger Delta youth.
You counted them?
Of course. While I was in DSS custody, I actually became the rallying point of Niger Delta youth in that place. While I was outside, I was the spokesperson of Ijaw People's Development Initiative. Coming into DSS custody again, I became the spokesperson of Niger Delta youth. I'm someone that I never shy away in whatever I believe in. So while there, I use what I will call street knowledge to count them. So they were 52. And none of them were taken to court. Those whom court even asked DSS to set free, I will give you 2 names. Jamaica, Sensor Lumba. These 2 young men, competent court of law, asked Nigerian state to set them free. But as I'm talking to you, they are still in DSS custody.
So I just wondering then, I mean, well, maybe I should come to you now. Can we then hang on? Can we hang on to the promises of the new acting DG who says that he's going to do a review of human rights abuses and he's looking for the DSS to earn the trust of the public? How is that going to work?
I would say that the new DG or the acting DG started on the very right note. It started on a note that can give people confidence in believing statements of the government. When government officials said, we reassure you, it's very hard to believe nowadays. But with the actions that the new DG, Matthew Sefa, took, we started seeing that assurance that indeed it will be reforms to what had hitherto been the case in the SSS. Yet, however, recently we have seen also media reports whereby they are trying to curtail that reform that the DG has tried to bring. Fortunately, he has already brought about some reforms that I personally have been a witness to. And like you rightly said, you got in touch with the new spokesperson. Hitherto, there had never been a spokesperson since July 2015 when former SG DG Lawal Dara was appointed. And some of us have been crying out that, look, you cannot operate a system whereby you are interfacing with the public, you arrest them, you accuse them of crimes, and you don't even allow them to have access to the law or have access to their lawyers or even have access to the media to ask questions about the allegations you levy against them. Hitherto, what we had was whereby they just arrest Peter and say Peter confessed to a crime and that we will charge him to court whenever. And you can't have any media spokesperson. So the appointment of a spokesperson is great news. And that we even have a visual to see his face because the former was just fictitious. That is one aspect of the reforms that we can hold on to. Hopefully they won't reverse that. The second aspect is that ever since Jones Abiri brought out this whole outcry following Colonel Daniel's release in 2017, Jones Abiri was a less case. The outcry was so much that he had to charge him to court. And upon his release, I've counted, I've interviewed, I've met a number of over a dozen who have been released, similarly like Jones Abiri, without trial. They were held for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, without trial, without access to their lawyers, without access to their families or medical attention. And most of them have serious impediments.
So what should we expect from the review then? If eventually they do review and they say, well, indeed, maybe some people we did hold them without, without any justifiable reason, what should we expect, or what should we ask of the DSS?
We should be asking that they are accountable for whatever actions they have, criminality that perpetrated against Nigerians, for holding them on allegations, flimsy allegations of national security. Whereas we have found out that there was nothing like national security on which they were holding them. They've just been picked up because they were felt that they could give answers to questions, some being forced to write confessional statements to implicate others.
Quick closing comments from you now, Ezekiel. Would you make any exceptions? I mean, you met Boko Haram suspects. There are also people who are accused of, holding national security to ransom. Would you also say that it is okay to hold them, especially when you look at the number of people who die as a result of their activities?
Yes, I've said it. On no basis.
Just quickly.
Yes, on no basis should Nigerians be locked up perpetually under the custody of DSS. If anybody is found wanting on any quote-unquote criminal issue, let him or her be taken to court. Let court pronounce him or her guilty, but not DSS, locking people up, taking upon themselves power that does not belong to them.
Well, gentlemen, at this point, I have to thank you both for coming on the program. It's been a really short time, it would seem. Time flies. Well, Mr. Daniel Ezekiel and Peter Okanga have been our guests tonight. That's the program tonight. But as always, we look forward to your responses. Please write to hardcopy@channelstv.com or tweet at CTV Hardcopy. And we must also acknowledge mails from some of our viewers, one of which is from the National Association of Sea Dogs, details of which we will take in subsequent editions, along with others which we received as well. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Good night.